A movement that began in Saint Lucia to empower women farmers is now gaining traction in other OECS islands. As global supply chains suffer disruptions, as uncertainty rises around the world about securing food supplies, consortium journalists reached out to Helen's Daughter's founder and executive director Keithlin Caroo to talk about the work her organization is doing in Saint Lucia and beyond, as well as the work that still needs to be done in the region to maximize our agricultural potential. Caroo first spoke about how the expansion in programming for Helen's Daughters occurred, from operating just in St. Lucia to running training programs in places like St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Kitts and Nevis. As she explains, it started when the University of the West Indies took note of the work HD was doing on the ground.
And they had a food and nutrition program in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Kitts and Nevis that was clearly lacking targeting farmers. Oftentimes you find there's a disconnect between agriculture, food and nutrition, and health and wellness. And I think they noted our holistic interventions, and they wanted to mirror the same in the two other countries. On top of that, last year in 2021, we ran a research study for a global NGO through 5 Caribbean countries: St. Lucia, Dominica, Suriname, Jamaica, and Guyana. And we noted that there was similar issues throughout these countries in terms of market access, and market access primarily for women and youth. And one of the top recommendations from our research was the inclusion of technical training, which is where we come in.
Response on the ground, Caroo says, has been overwhelming, pointing to significant untapped demand for more training in agricultural techniques and practice among women farmers in the OECS.
When we first thought we would enter into the countries, we thought we would just do about 40 persons. 359 people applied in total in those 2 countries. So what led to doing only 1 program ended up being 4 cohorts. And you see the need similar to St. Lucia, and you also see the appreciation of those free training programs and the flexibility of the programs, because we make sure that it's at an ideal time during the week, catering to women who are mothers, who have full-time jobs and are doing this on the side. Whatever situation, it's something that they can still access.
Helen's Daughters' focus on women farmers is supported by research into the issue. A 2011 study by the Food and Agriculture Organization found that women made up about 43% of the agricultural workforce around the globe, but many of these women participated in work that was unpaid, seasonal, or part-time, making economic stability for them and their families often difficult to achieve. The paper, titled "The Role of Women in Agriculture," quite clearly establishes that women bear the majority of the labor burden when it comes to agricultural production, but overall receive a lesser share of the concomitant economic benefits. But Caroo says despite the efforts and the successes of her tiny team to expand access to training and resources for women agriculturists in more and more Caribbean jurisdictions, the lack of supportive policy environments is placing a damper on the efficacy of the work Helen's Daughters is trying to do.
Food security, agriculture, it's a trendy topic, and what I'm seeing is a lot of lip service and expositions, but when you really come down to the grain in terms of the support mechanisms and the enabling environment, it's not there.
Caroo, when asked about what policy prescriptions she would advocate for, pointed to reversing the chronic underinvestment in agricultural education.
I come from a background where I went to schools in both from primary to secondary, and there were no agricultural education programs available. Yet we ask youth to go into the agricultural sector. How does that make sense when they don't even have the actual baseline to be able to go into it? So I think for me, policy would be trying to introduce, at least at the tertiary and primary levels, an agricultural education program, even with connections with NGOs like ourselves and so on, if the Ministry of Education is not able to actually absorb doing so in each and every school. And furthermore, this is one of the reasons why we actually established a scholarship fund with South Louis Community College, which will actually fund 2 associate's degree programs for 2 fortunate women entering the program.